On the night of the crimson moon, the kingdom of Aurelienne was silent except for the weeping of its queen. Inside her chamber, Queen Solène held a newborn child whose face was as delicate as the petals of a spring flower. The child was her son, Prince Hyacinth, the long-awaited heir to the throne. Yet, the queen's tears fell not from joy, but from fear. The king, her husband, had long been cursed by a fairy he had wronged in his youth. The curse decreed that any child born to him would inherit a secret deformity, hidden from the world until the day love was truly tested. To protect her son, Queen Solène begged the fairies for mercy. One among them, a fairy of half light and half shadow named Seraphine, agreed to soften the curse. "He shall live fair and beloved," Seraphine whispered, her silvery voice trembling. "But if ever pride blinds him, if ever he scorns what is kind and humble, his secret shall reveal itself before all, and he will lose what he cherishes most." And so, the prince grew under the shimmering illusion of perfection, handsome, adored, and untouchable. The kingdom praised his beauty, his intelligence, his smile that could make maidens blush. Yet no one noticed the loneliness behind his bright eyes. The meeting. Years passed, and Prince Hyacinth reached his 20th year. Despite his charm and the line of noble daughters presented to him, he found no joy in any of them. Their compliments felt empty, their smiles rehearsed. One evening, while hunting in the royal forest, Hyacinth lost his way. His horse startled at the sound of thunder and threw him off, leaving him in the mud beneath the rain. He wandered until he came upon a small cottage lit by a single lantern. Inside lived a young woman, slight, graceful, with eyes like morning dew. "Please," he said, shivering. "May I take shelter?" The girl nodded. "You may, if you'll help me gather wood for the fire." He was too weary to protest. Together, they worked in the storm. The prince, unaccustomed to such labor, fumbled with the logs. She laughed softly, not mockingly but warmly. "You're not used to this, are you?" He smiled, a little embarrassed. "No. In my world, we summon servants for the smallest tasks." "Then your world must be a lonely one," she said. When morning came, he thanked her and asked her name. "I'm Lysandra," she said simply. "The villagers call me the little princess because I care for their children and feed their hungry. But I am no princess, only someone who loves her people." Something in her voice stayed with him long after he left. The conflict. Days turned into weeks. Prince Hyacinth could not forget Lysandra, her calm strength, her laughter, the way her eyes seemed to see through all pretense. He returned to her cottage again and again, disguising himself as a traveler. In time, affection bloomed between them, fragile yet true. For the first time, Hyacinth felt seen not as a prince, but as a man. But love born in secrecy cannot stay hidden forever. One afternoon, while Hyacinth and Lysandra were walking through the forest, a hawk flew above carrying a parchment. It was a royal messenger's seal. Hyacinth read it with a tightening chest. "The king commands your return. You are to prepare for your betrothal to Princess Clarimond of Eos." Lysandra looked at him, her face pale but composed. "You're a prince." He tried to take her hand. "I meant to tell you, I swear it. You must believe me. You are all I want." But Lysandra drew back. "Then why do you hide behind lies? What life can we have when truth itself is a disguise?" Her words struck deeper than any sword. Hyacinth returned to the palace, torn between love and duty. The court buzzed with celebration, yet his heart was in the forest. That night, he stood before his mirror, and froze. His reflection was wrong. His face shimmered strangely, and in place of his proud, perfect features appeared something twisted and unrecognizable, the true face the fairy's curse had concealed. He staggered back in horror. The illusion was fading. Panic clawed at his chest. He remembered Seraphine's warning, if ever pride blinds him, his secret shall reveal itself. He smashed the mirror. The journey. Desperate, Hyacinth rode back to the forest to find Lysandra, but her cottage was empty. The villagers said she had vanished after a silver-winged lady visited her. He searched until he reached the ruins of an old chapel covered in vines. There, under the moonlight, stood Seraphine, half shadow, half light, her eyes ancient and sorrowful. "You broke the vow of humility," she said. "You loved, but not enough to trust. Your heart still clings to the mask the world gave you. Then tell me how to find her," he pleaded. "Tell me how to make it right." She looked at him long. "You must give up what you prize most, not your crown, not your face, but your pride. Only then can love see you again." With a motion of her hand, the forest shimmered, and the prince found himself before a silver lake. In its center floated an island where Lysandra stood, motionless, trapped within a crystal cage. He ran to the shore, but a storm rose, tearing the trees and waves apart. A voice echoed in the wind, the darker side of Seraphine's magic. "She is bound by your reflection. Free her, and your beauty will be lost forever." Without hesitation, Hyacinth threw himself into the lake. The water burned like fire. As he swam, he felt his handsome form unraveling, skin cracking, bones reshaping, the illusion melting away. When he reached the island, he was barely recognizable, disfigured, trembling, his face raw and imperfect. He placed his hands upon the crystal. "I came as I am, Lysandra. If love is truth, then let it see me." The crystal shattered. Lysandra fell into his arms, her eyes wide with tears. "You're changed," she whispered. "I am what I always was," he said softly. "Only now I see it too." She touched his scarred face. "And I see nothing but the man who kept his promise." The storm stilled. The moonlight poured over them, and Seraphine's voice faded into the wind, gentle now. "True sight is the gift of love." The return. When Hyacinth returned to Aurelienne, he refused to hide behind illusion. The court gasped when they saw his face, no longer beautiful but marked by the price of truth. The king was enraged, calling him a fool for giving up what made him royal. But Hyacinth stood tall. "A kingdom built on appearances is already broken. I would rather be honest and loved by few than adored for a lie." The people murmured, some in pity, others in awe. Yet word of his courage spread, and the hearts of the common folk turned toward him. They saw in him not a prince of vanity, but a ruler of compassion. In time, the king fell ill and passed away, and Hyacinth ascended the throne. Lysandra became his queen, though she kept her cottage and visited the villagers often. Together they ruled with humility and warmth, their reign gentle as the dawn after storm. The twist. Years later, a traveler came to court, a young man who carried a mirror unlike any other. He claimed it was a gift from the fairy Seraphine herself. The mirror, he said, revealed not one's face, but one's truest heart. Hyacinth, curious and unafraid, stood before it. What he saw made him fall silent. His reflection was no longer disfigured. Instead, he saw himself as he might have been, fair and radiant, but his eyes were filled with peace, not pride. Lysandra stood beside him, her reflection glowing brighter than his. The traveler smiled faintly. "Beauty changes, but truth endures. The fairy keeps her promises." When the man turned to leave, Hyacinth noticed something strange.